Yes, we saw the bombshell yesterday, and it's reported that Quin Synder is out of here. Get me out of here. I'm done. I am leaving. I am stepping back from my duties. Should the Jazz officially hit the reset button? And Zay, you're the one that brought this topic to me on Instagram. I'll send it right over to you to kick us off.
Yeah, so I think with this news that I guess was being rumored since almost the second half of the season, they would, basically said if, the Jazz get eliminated that first round, second round of the playoffs, it doesn't look good, that, they got to set the reset button. Because the Jazz, if we really look at it, since Donovan Mitchell has been in the league, the Utah Jazz have had arguably one of the best teams in the Western Conference, let alone the NBA. They had a top 10 team for the last couple of seasons. They had arguably, I think they were number one in the Western Conference 3 years ago. I could be mistaken. And they couldn't capitalize on their blessings that they had on this team. Their defense was stout. They had two-way players on both the starters and the bench. You had Donovan Mitchell. You combined him with Mike Conley. You combined him with Bogdanovich. You had Royce O'Neal playing good at one point. At one point, Joe Ingles was a big contributor for this team before he got hurt, and they let him go. This team had a lot of weapons that they couldn't utilize. And then the emergence of Jordan Clarkson coming to this team and being such a lethal offensive threat off the bench, but also being able to play defense so you didn't have to worry about his defensive liabilities or what he had prior to the Utah Jazz. The team looked stout. It looked like it was primed for a Western Conference Finals, NBA Finals appearance, and it just never came to fruition. So I think it's time to press the reset button. You get Donovan Mitchell, you trade Donovan Mitchell, you get a young star back. Now a young player back, a young player with a lot of potential, possibly a Tyler Hero, possibly a guy in that nature, or someone like a Christian Wood or someone in that nature, where you're getting someone who has potential to be a star caliber scorer or offensive player on the court for the Utah Jazz. You move Rudy Gobert for what you can. You gave him a crazy contract. It's very difficult to move Rudy Gobert in this market where a lot of centers are now starting to shoot the ball, and they're starting to do more than just sit in the paint and just rim run all day. So it's going to be very difficult to do something like that. But there's a guy named Karl Anthony Towns who's possibly on a move. Maybe he doesn't want to come back to Timberwolves. Maybe he wants to go out there and try to win something or try to be on a team where it's different from what he's had so far. You could probably look at him and move them. With coaching, it's going to be difficult, but you're going to have to take a shot in the dark. Maybe go after Johnny Bryant, who's right now the assistant coach of the Knicks, but maybe he wants a head coaching gig. Maybe you call him and say, "Hey, we want to be the head coach for this team. You're familiar with our guys. You know what we have here. Maybe bring him over." Kenny Atkinson, a guy who is really good in player development, bring him over. I'm really high on Sam Cassell. He's a great assistant coach. He's developed guys like John Wall in their prime, developed guys like Ben Simmons in their prime when they were talking about he's an all-NBA player, all-defensive player. So he's seen his fair share of star caliber players that young players that turn to star caliber players. Another guy no one mentions, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was there on the Clippers on his first year when he was really developing his game that translated over to OKC so he could really blossom into the guy he is currently. So I think, they have options, but you have to take a risk. You're going to have to go after a young coach, a guy who's familiar with the players, a player's coach who knows how to develop them, who knows today's game of basketball. You can't go after a historian. You can't go after an old guy like D'Antoni who's not really familiar with how that game is being played today on both sides of the ball. D'Antoni's a great offensive coach. Defense, he has no damn clue what he's doing. It just never translated with him. It never worked for him. He always needed a guy on that assistant coaching bench to teach those defenses schemes. I think the Utah Jazz have a lot of assets to make these moves happen. It's all about, are they willing to? Because pride and ego gets set into these kind of moves where they feel like, oh, we're only one piece away. They've been saying that for the last 5-6 seasons, and it's not it. No knock to Donovan Mitchell. He's been playing lights out when he has to. There's games where he has a lot of lapses, and you start to question, can he be the number one scorer on a team pushing for the championship? I'm still on the fence about it. I'm not sure, but maybe you should go after a guy who's available or go after some guys who are available to bring some kind of depth to the team that can help you get that move going.
That was a good take, Zay. The biggest take that I can take from your take and agree with it is hiring a young head coach. And I believe, to me, it's astonishing that Kenny Atkinson has gone this long without a head coaching job in the NBA, because Kenny Atkinson, if you look at what he did with the Nets with 0 first-round draft picks, because we had them all in Boston, and look at the way he just developed those guys and basically helped set up the Nets team that is today, because they traded Jared Allen and all those guys to get Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons. Like, all of that is basically because of what Kenny did in his previous tenure. And for you Knicks fans, I don't know why the Knicks didn't hire Kenny Atkinson. They have a young team. They're a growing team. Why would you not want Kenny Atkinson to coach, R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, Emmanuel Quickly, all those guys? Like, why would you not want that dude after seeing what he did just across the East River in Brooklyn? And I think if the Jazz are smart, they should blow it up. Staying on topic here, they should blow it up, because you cannot lose to a Dallas Mavericks team in the first round of the playoffs for 2 games did not have Luka Doncic, which is the Dallas Mavericks team. It's basically Luka or bust for them in terms of their offense. And they were without him for 2 games, and the Mavericks went up 2-1, or 3 games. They went up 2-1 against Utah. And if you're the Utah Jazz, you cannot be letting that happen. That's the reason why they lost that series. I don't think they would have beaten the Mavs anyway. I had the Mavs beating Utah in the first round, because I just don't think Utah's all that. They do this every year. Everyone's like, oh, Utah, but then they always find a way to blunder in the playoffs. And if you look at it from the standpoint, I believe that Donovan Mitchell is a good player. Not just because he's a Westchester guy and a Met fan, but he's a good player. But I don't think he's the number 1 guy. I don't think you could win with Donovan Mitchell as the number 1 guy on your team. I think he's a good number 2, but not a number 1. And I believe that the way Utah's constructed, he's a number 1 guy, and they're not going to be able to get a number 1 guy to pair with him. So I believe that it's time to blow it up. First round exit. I believe again, second year in a row. I could be wrong, but and Rudy Gobert is just he ain't it either, man. This whole thing about him, he's out here tweeting about how he would lock down Shaq if they played against each other. Like, dude, come on. Like, what is that? Rudy, he's good on defense, man, and he'd be good for a team where all they need from their center is to sit there, block shots, and rebound. Boston. But other than that, Rudy as the number 2 guy he ain't it, man. He's not a number 2 guy. You can't. The way Utah's constructed, they got to blow it up. Quin Snyder's gone. Quin Snyder was right to leave. He could find a better job elsewhere for a team that's more ready to compete seriously in the playoffs. And it's just time to blow it up in Utah, man. Be smart, make some trades, get some pieces back, hire Kenny Atkinson as your head coach, and start the rebuild going with some young guys.
So it's been 6 years in a row that this Jazz team had made the playoffs. Nobody has won more regular season games than the Utah Jazz in that span, but no championship to account for that. So if you're ownership and you're the front office, when do you say enough is enough? When do you see a fighter getting bamboozled in the ring and you say, I'm going to throw in the towel and I'm going to stop the fight? When do you say that if you're the front office of the Utah Jazz? Because if I'm not mistaken here, right, you can look at it in a lot of ways, right? You could say maybe he's not this year, right? I look around, I see the Celtics. Oh, let's break up Tatum and trade one of those guys. But yet they're the best team in basketball and are 3 games away from winning the championship. Oh, look at the Bucks. Okay, Giannis, he still has to evolve, right? And they get bounced every single year. Oh, but one year we're going to win the championship and Giannis just going to be a better basketball player, right? That's the difference here. They were better basketball players. They improved their games. Giannis improved his game, right? Tatum and Brown improved their game. Tatum said, I'm going to be a playmaker today. Brown, you can still see him trying to evolve in the playmaking facility, right, as well. They evolved their games. So now it goes back to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. You need to evolve your game, right? If you're Donovan Mitchell, you need to be more assertive on offense and show more better efforts defensively. If you're Rudy Gobert, you can't be making a supermax and only being used as a rim protector. My man, the gym is a public resource. It's open 24 hours. Get in the gym, bro. And I think when it comes to Rudy Gobert, and this is just my theory here, I just think he's a cursed guy. I think he's a cursed brother. Like, he got COVID first, all right, and then they had the plane incident when they was up in the air. All right, he got stung by a bee a couple months ago. I just think he's a cursed dude. You know what I'm saying? I think it's rubbing off for the franchise. And then you got the daggone dysfunction that is going on between them, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, that is, eternally. So when do you throw in the towel if you're the front office and say, yo, I seen enough, I'm going to throw in the towel? And that's a question that they need to answer. And I think if I'm them, maybe I do throw in the towel today and break this thing up and see if I can rebuild my team. Zay said a very interesting point about the ego in that, right? And granted, I can't be mad at the ego. Who want to win with bums? It doesn't sell tickets. It doesn't at all. That's a hard thing to really come by. That's like saying, I'm just going to not be a human today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want Rihanna, but I'm going to settle for Precious, bro. So that's a hard thing to digest if you're the front office. It's not an easy thing saying I'm going to commit to the rebuild. But sometimes what's not easy is the best thing to do. And I think if you're Danny Ainge, you bought in Danny Ainge to be aggressive. That's the main reason why you bought Danny Ainge over there, to be aggressive. But instead of him being aggressive, it's looking like the brother's going to have a yard sale. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done with my take. You can respond if you want.
Real quick. Go.
Yeah, real quick. That's why Boston did the right thing by letting Danny Ainge go, because what he was doing in Boston, yes, he did construct a good teams in the past, but it was going stale with Danny Ainge. He wasn't being aggressive at the trade deadlines. He wasn't being as aggressive in the offseason as I would have liked, besides that Kyrie and Hayward summer. And it was smart for us to let Brad, who has a great basketball mind, go to the front office and construct the team his way, because things were going stale. And now I fear that Danny Ainge in Utah, I don't know where you go with him, because he's more used to – he can build a winner. So maybe I'm being a little hard on him, but we'll give him a shot. We'll see what he does.
Real quick, I think one thing that Brad Stevens, which I was laughing at him when he first got to front office, I didn't understand what he was doing, because he wasn't making the splashiest moves, but he made the moves necessary for them to make this winner of a team. Derek White, they got him. Al Horford took on his massive contract, which was, to me, I was laughing. I'm like, what the heck? He's 35, 36. You got to take on this massive contract, and look at him now, championship team. So clearly, that's why he gets paid the big bucks. And that's why I need to keep my mouth shut when it comes to certain things. Danny Ainge, what he's going to do for the Utah Jazz, and what he's done notoriously throughout his career, is get a boatload of draft picks so this team could rebuild the proper way and build through the draft, which, we've seen in Boston when they got Smart, Tatum, Brown, Robert Williams, Pritchard. I'm missing somebody. Is there another Grant Williams? I said Grant Williams already. Robert and Grant Williams. So they got a bevy of their team that is helping them go to the championship through the draft. I think the Utah Jazz, if they want any kind of relevancy for years to come, despite them already being relevant in this particular moment, but it just seems like they're like the team that goes to the playoffs, but we already know they're going to lose. They were the favorites to beat the Mavericks. They lost. They always going against, for whatever reason, every time they play somebody, we just have a feeling that Utah Jazz is just going to lose. They just are known for losing at this point, and I don't understand why. They're a playoff team known to lose, which is so weird to say, but that's just kind of what their image is. So in order to repair that, you're going to have to move those star players for a boatload of draft picks for young guys who could potentially be that next person. Like Tyler Herro stated, I think in a quote, he says, I'm a fourth-year player now. I want to start. I feel like I'm proven enough to start. Maybe you pair Donovan Mitchell with whatever. You get Tyler Herro and a boatload of draft picks to come over to Utah. Rudy Gobert, it's going to be tough to move him. But if you are, you probably get a boatload of draft picks and get, some over here. Maybe a team like OKC, who has nothing but draft picks, will take on Rudy Gobert's contract and stuff because they have nothing else going on over there. Rudy Gobert, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you got guys like that. Maybe that could work something with Lou Dort. Maybe that could potentially be something in a sense where you get a boatload of draft picks. You get some guys over there to Utah. The free agents are not jumping to go to Utah. That's another thing. You have to kind of trade and force guys to come over there, which is unfortunate, but that's what kind of Utah has to do. They have to draft guys and hopefully try to maintain them by winning. So moving forward, if Danny Ainge has shown us anything, he's shown us that he's able to flip some players for some draft picks and then make magic in the draft. And I think that's something he's going to have to do for Utah.
Yeah, I think for me, I came alive. I know I said that was my take, but, I rose from the dead. I'm alive. I mean, look, my last real take, and I'm done after this, unless somebody say something outlandish, which right now I think we're all on the same page, so I'm more likely done here. But my last take is that it shows this Quin Synder stepping down how unattractive that Lakers job was. I mean, if you're Quin Synder, like he literally waited to the Lakers, was like, all right, I got my coach. All right, cool. Nah, I'm gonna step down. Like sort of a coincidence that is right there. And I think this shows a lot about where Utah is and how people look at the Lakers being unattractive. And this is a big market. You see, the Utah Jazz don't have the same luxury of by virtue of location that the Lakers have, and yet both organizations are very unattractive. And I think that says a lot about where both franchises are on this very damn day today. Ladies and gentlemen, I know y'all not getting tired of watching In the Huddle over and over again, so like and subscribe to the channel and receive these new notifications of new uploaded content that will be coming your way. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm out. Peace.